So if you would, please welcome my friend, Xi Van Fleet.
I have long COVID, so I will cough probably from time to time, just to warn you. I'm just so glad to be here, and I'm so thankful that Eric invited me here, and to be here with you, and to share the stage with brave, courageous conservative fighters like Mr. Windsor and Senator Brenner. I'm just so grateful. Thank you. And also, I'm so thankful that you are here. And we talk about after 2020 and 2021, and so many parents got involved, and Loudoun County, where I'm from, become the epicenter for a parent revolt. But things kind of quiet down. Just like Eric said, it's kind of hard to get more people into an event like this. But I have to tell you, you are a true patriot. And we can't just say, okay, I think I've done my thing and it's time to relax. It's not. Things got worse, not any better. And just like the saying that socialists never sleep, progressive never sleep. That's why we're here today. So we can't go to sleep too. We have to stay in the fighting mode. A year ago, in June, I went to school board in the midst of parent revolt against CRT and school shutdown. And I gave 1 minute speech because we are limited to one. And after that, I said I did my duty. Have no idea that my speech went viral. No idea. Because I thought, of course it's obvious. Everyone knows this is kind of a cultural revolution. No. I found out quickly. And I found out more after I started to meet people and go to events and speak to a lot of Americans. People do not know. Very few people know about the Chinese Cultural Revolution. Fewer people, like especially the young people, know about anything about communism. Know very little about CCP. That's a problem. It is a very, very serious problem. Why? What's happening today in America is a communist takeover. Very few people even recognize it because they don't know what communism is. So after that, I know I made it a mission to educate Americans, to tell Americans what is happening today. The cultural revolution that's happening today is communist, Marxist revolution. So when people think about communism, I think the older people, they think about Russia. They think about Cold War. Okay, that is true. The communist revolution succeeded in countries like Russia, like China, North Korea, Cuba, through what? Through violent revolution, through armed insurrection to overthrow a sitting government. Marxists, that's not what Karl Marx predicted. He predicted that the communist revolution will first take place in highly industrialized countries like Great Britain, France, Germany, or United States. According to his theory, the oppression of capitalism will compel the workers to rise up and overthrow the system, the capitalist system, and then to take over the means of production, to abolish private ownership. That's his prediction. What happened is the opposite. Capitalism did not do what he expected. Actually, it created unprecedented wealth and the middle class. And especially in America, we have this wonderful thing called American dreams. Anyone can come here with nothing and make your own American dream. It doesn't have to be a millionaire, whatever you define your dream, it can come true. I come here with 200 borrowed dollars. I achieved my American dream. This has been played out again. Capitalism is freedom. Okay, so the communists want to overthrow capitalism. What they have to do is something different, not violent revolution. So this guy called Antonio Gramsci, he was an Italian communist, and he came up with something that is what we're dealing with today. He said, we can't overthrow it with violence. What we have to do is destroy the culture, the hegemony, in his own words. That includes common sense. Yes, the common sense of that hegemony. We have to abolish tradition, abolish religion, and that's how we destroy capitalism. And that is what we're dealing with today. Gramsci is the grandfather of cultural Marxism. And what's happening here today in America is cultural revolution. I do know a little bit about what cultural revolution is because I spent my entire school years in Mao's cultural revolution. There's no evidence that Mao read Gramsci. It's only evidential that evil minds think alike. Okay, Mao had already had power. He launched the Chinese Cultural Revolution for two things. One is to destroy any remnant of the traditional Chinese culture to make way for Marxism, communism, and most of all, to make his brand of communism as the hegemony. That is Maoism, the most radical communism. So he wanted to destroy everything that is traditional. Can you So let me tell you a little bit of my story. When the Cultural Revolution started, I finished my first grade of the first semester of the first grade, starting the second semester of my first grade. And it's overnight. That's my memory. Overnight. And it's just chaos took over. And on campus, there were just what's called big character posters. It's just big posters with written words, and it's big so that everyone can see. It's kind of like today's social media. So you put it there, and you can, and it's about denouncing this one, that one, and it's just criticism and denunciation, mostly of school authorities. And soon after, chaos took over. School closed. Kids here missed about 2 years school during COVID. I missed 2 years during the Cultural Revolution. All canceled. And by the time school finally opened, I went back to school, and I just became a fourth grader. As if nothing happened. I just became a fourth grader, missed everything in between. And That lasted 10 years. By the time I graduated from high school, what awaited for me? Nothing. Mao sent all the young people from cities to the countryside to get re-educated by the peasants. That's where I went. I went to the countryside and worked in the fields, doing primitive work with the peasants. And I don't know what they educated. They educated me, they did. And I have first-hand experience to see how socialism does not work, how collectivism does not work. So after that, Mao died. Thank God, he died. And so Deng Xiaoping took over. He was a reformer. So he decided to open up universities. During the Cultural Revolution, the university were for people who were recommended by party leaders. No examinations, no SATs, forget about it. You go because you had good political credential, and you were approved by the party members. And that's the kind of people. It's called workers, peasants, soldiers, college students. So finally, Deng Xiaoping said, no more. You go to college through examination. And I took the examination, and I was admitted to college at the age of 19. And I feel very fortunate that I was still young enough to go to college. And then I got a teaching job. And there I met an American teacher who came to our school during the summer to teach English. She's from Bowling Green, Kentucky. She helped me to get assistantship. And 2 years later, in 1986, my dream came true. I came to America. Bowling Green, Kentucky, Western Kentucky University, not that far from here. Okay, I'm here to tell you what culture revolution are like, and using my experience in China and compare what's happening here. I find myself, I don't know, lucky or what, I experienced two most important cultural revolutions in history. One in China, one right here, still going on. To have a revolution, even though it's not a violent, armed insurrection, you need to divide people. You can't have a revolution without conflict. And what did Mao do in China? In China, we all look alike, right? You can't distinguish people by the way they look. They divided us by class. If you are landowner or you are descendant of landowner, you belong to this class called the black class. Okay, so if you're poor, and then you're considered allies of the revolution, it's red class. So in China, it's black versus red. And after the people with property are all wiped out, they have to expand the black class. By then, it's people who thought wrong, who had the thought crime, they become black class. And that's how Chinese were divided. What they divide here? What do they divide people here? In America, you don't have to think very hard. The easiest way to divide Americans by race. Okay, in China, it's black versus red. Here is BIPOC versus white, right? The BIPOC, black, indigenous, and people of color. Okay, so they divide us by race. They have to, because that's how they create conflict And then with conflict, you can have a revolution. Okay, so in China, Mao used a majority against minority, because how many people were rich? 5%, 1% actually, exactly like Bernie Sanders quote, it's 1%. So 99% against 1%. That's class warfare. How about here? They're doing the opposite. They are setting the minority against the majority, because it's the people of color are still minority. That's why they have to expand it. That's why they have to use identity Marxism to expand. So at first, it's actually class is still part of the way to divide people. That's Bernie Sanders. That's the classic Marxist strategy. And then race. Race is still not enough. What else they can use to divide us? Sex, sexuality, gender. That's not it, right? It's not it. Disabled versus able-bodied people. Now there's something new. Weight is also a way to divide people. Do you know that the university now offers critical weight class? Critical weight or critical fat study. Yes. And then they have what else? Political affiliation. If you're a Republican, you're racist. Now they got more people, right? And the latest one is what? Vaccination, right? That's how they do it. Mao did it, simple way. And Mao, and that simple way worked for him. But in America, they have to work harder, and they will continue to divide us. Vaccination status won't be the last one. I guarantee, and you know it. It won't be the last one. Okay, can you change slide? So division is the first one. Okay. The next is create chaos. Well, it's okay. I just want to give you some visual to compare. In order to have revolution, you have to create chaos. Mao said, we need chaos in order to create a new order. He said that openly. He just said that. He said, we need chaos every 7 to 8 years. We have chaos here too. It's every 4 years, right? We witnessed one of the worst chaos in 2020. They need that. They absolutely thrive on chaos. And cancel culture. Okay, the next one I want to say is cancel culture. The whole thing about the culture revolution is to destroy what's old, what's traditional. And Mao made it very clear. 4 olds. Old ideas, old tradition, old habits, and old custom. What is it? It is Chinese civilization. Anything old need to be destroyed and canceled. And who was doing his bidding? The Red Guards. I'm going to talk a little more later about the Red Guards. So they went after exactly the same thing as the Red Guards here went after, statues. So they, in China, we don't have a lot of public statues in the streets. So they went to the temples. They destroy Buddhist statues. What else they did? Change names. Change names of streets, institutions, schools, and even personal names. So the first thing is streets. All those traditional names had to go. They have to be changed into revolutionary names. in my city, and one of the busiest shopping center, the name was changed from something really nice called Spring Splendor into Anti-Imperialist Road. And the schools changed. One of the schools is the birthplace of the Red Guards, changed into Red Guards Fighting School. And very interesting, in Beijing, there is a hospital. It's called Union Hospital. So the Red Guards went there, changed its name into Anti-Imperialist Hospital. This time they were correct, because that hospital was founded by American imperialist Rockefeller. Personal names. They changed their personal names to be politically correct. My name is Xi. Xi means, in Chinese, means west. Also, it was taken from the city where I was born, Xi'an. And I was under pressure to change it, because West also means imperialist West. And my schoolmates will make fun of me. Fortunately, my parents said, just tell them it's from the city. And my name survived. And I love this name, because that's where I am today, in the West. And anything else that is not communist is canceled. People canceled left and right. Here, Trump was canceled. In China, the president of China, Liu Shaoqi, was canceled. All my school administrators canceled, teachers canceled, everyone with authority, everyone that had links to the past, like they were something that in the past, during the nationalist government, they all canceled. So that's exactly what's happening here. Remember, cancel culture is not to get rid of someone, because that's mostly what people think about. Someone is canceled. No, it's the idea of that one that stands for that's being canceled. And if you look at it, it's all traditional ideas. So the 4 O's here is being canceled by the American Red Guards. The other thing is what's happening here. Okay, I do want to talk a little bit about this. This is canceling of religion. In China, there are a lot of religions. And Buddhist probably is the most dominant religion. So in the middle, it's a picture of monks being struggled against. And said, what is the scripture of Buddhism? It's all dog fart. And then those are the monks. They have to endure the struggle session. And on the right, it's the Catholic nuns being canceled, struggled against. The Cultural Revolution absolutely destroyed all religion. One of the most enduring ethics or philosophy in China is Confucianism. You probably know a little bit of it. If you don't, if you did not know before, you probably know that somewhere there is a Confucian Institute, right, in college and in universities. Confucius is the sage of Chinese people that teach us the basics of how to have a harmonious society. He was canceled. Not only canceled, his temple was destroyed. His family's graveyard was destroyed, and some of the corpses, the last descendants, were taken out and hanged on the tree. So I always say, Chinese Communist Party, they are not the heir of Confucianism. They are the true heir of Marxism. close down all the Confucius institutions. If you still have some in Ohio, you probably do. Close them down. Now they change names, but they are indeed CCP, propaganda institutions. Family. They aim at family because it is in the Communist Manifesto. One of their goals is to abolish family. Why? To Karl Marx, family is part of the private ownership. Family was there to ensure that the property stay with those families. So it should be abolished. And that's what happened in China. The first thing that Mao took over is set parents and children against each other. From day one in 1949 when they took power, parents had no say whatsoever about how to raise their children, what their children should learn. And the children were taught, like me, we were taught our real parents, the CCP and the Mao. And we sing songs like, Father's dear, mother's dear, no one is as dear as Chairman Mao. And that's just from day one, that's how we were taught, that he was our real leader. What happened during the Cultural Revolution is parents were being sold out by the children. There was one very famous story. The 16-year-old boy who was a Red Guard heard his mother complaining about Mao. So he went to reported her to the authority. She was arrested. 2 months later, she was executed. And that's not kind of like an exceptional story, very common. It happened a lot. Liu Shaoqi was the president of China. After Mao purged him, his daughter went public and wrote a big character poster denouncing his father. And then later, he joined by his sister and had articles published in the newspaper, in the party's newspaper, denouncing their father. In a way, they have to do it. It's expected because your loyalty, everyone's loyalty, should always be to the party, not to your own parents. Family is torn apart. There are parents reporting the children, and the wife report husband, and vice versa. The family is destroyed by Mao during the Cultural Revolution. You think, oh, that sounds awful. Thank goodness it's not here yet. It's here. It is absolutely here. Now we had this case in Colorado, I think, that the son reported his father because he was in Washington, D.C. on January 6th, and he was put in prison. And we have a daughter reporting mother because her mother was in the video being punched by a policeman. She reported to the FBI. It's happening here. During the riot of 2020, we have so many young girls went to social media, not young girls, young children went to social media denouncing their parents as racists. It's happening right here. And in Loudon School, they have two programs, one called Equity Ambassador Program, another is a reporting program. You encourage students to report to each other, report on each other. That's exactly what happened in the Cultural Revolution. That's why I'm saying this is Chinese Cultural Revolution replayed right here in America. The other thing is the Cultural Revolution is destruction of civil institutions. Have you heard this saying, long march through institutions? Okay. Long March is a march undertaken by Mao and his Red Army in the 1930s to escape the encirclement of the nationalist government. They marched about more than 1,000 miles to escape the nationalists, and then they were able to revive and then eventually took over China. A German communist used that to come up with this strategy. Long march through the institutions, meaning take over the institution little by little. That's not overnight, but long march. Look at what we are here today. Our institutions are all taken over. Schools, military. Military will be the last place, right? It's going woke. Churches, thank God, this great church is not woke, but many of them are. So, long march through the institutions. They are very successful, very. That's what I'm trying to tell everybody. The communist infiltration in America is complete. You cannot find any place that there's no infiltration. Everywhere, absolutely. Can you go? Okay, probably go down the next. So those are the struggle sessions. Struggle session is get someone to have a public trial, because this one, whoever, was a thought criminal. That's exactly what it is, a thought criminal. And this is also happening in America. Think about the college in Oregon. Brett Weinstein, I think. Yeah, that professor. His encounter with the students is pretty much like the struggle session. The only thing is that if he were in the Chinese Cultural Revolution, he would not make it out alive. The Red Guards would just kill him. But struggle session is coming to America as well. Okay, so who are those people carrying out this revolution? They are the Red Guards. How were the Red Guards were made? That is the question. That is the question for us to understand, so that we know that why we are fighting all these wars in school. Introduction and indoctrination. As I said a little bit already, in the very beginning, when the Chinese communists took over, the first thing they did is gather all the teachers, because those teachers were from the old society, right? They had these old ideas, old tradition, so they can't let those teachers teach the children. So they gathered all the teachers, elementary school, middle school, whatever, college, universities, everyone. They have to have intensive wokeness training or communist training. They have to train in day and night, and no break until they pass examination before they were led back to the classroom. It's happening here, right? The teachers, so many places, I'm sure in Ohio too, in Virginia, they have to have a DEI training. They have to get the teachers. But in America, they got them already through higher education, through teacher certification programs. So teachers, they have to get the teachers. And then they have to exclude parents, just as I said, happening here. And then they have to teach the children loyalty is to the party. Here, the loyalty is to what? Is to the woke ideology. And then fake history. That's a big part of it. Fake history. We were taught fake history. I had no idea. I have to unlearn everything after I come here to learn about my own country because I was taught all fake history. And the Chinese history of 5,000 years were reduced into class struggle, into the oppressor and the oppressed. That's it. That the 5,000 years is all the struggle between this oppressor and oppressed, and then finally communists come over and ended it all. Here too, fake history. And also, we talk about the school. What is the problem? Why they're not teaching real academic subject? Because that's not their goal. Their goal is not to train our kids to be successful citizens. No, they are training them to be activists, to be red guards. You have to understand that before you say, oh, why they're not teaching? That's why. They want our children to be activists. They want our children not be able to read or write so that they will be dependent. And they won't be independent thinker and to be productive citizens. That is the why. That's what we're dealing with. They are making our kids American red guards. So I think once we understand that, it is easier for us to fight the fight. And I think that I love that saying. Someone said, you can't fight against something if you really don't understand it. What we are fighting is not Republican Democrats. No. The fight is between Marxism, communism, and Americanism. That's the fight. That is exactly what we're fighting. Against communism. Okay, we're in the church. And I want to tell you a story. And to end what I have to say. It is a very, very important story. And I learned it only recently. And so this is, can you go, I think it's towards the end, the slides. No, the one before there. I want to tell a story of this remarkable lady. Her name is Lin Zhao. She was born in 1932 in a city called Suzhou, not far from Shanghai. She was born into a prominent family. When she was young, she attended missionary schools, Christian schools by American missionaries. And her school's name is Laura Haywood Memorial Schools for Girls. So in a very young age, she was taught Christianity. And so I think at around 14, she was baptized. That was the time when China was in the Civil War, the last war between the nationalists and the communists. And there was just tremendous suffering for the Chinese people. And especially that China already endured 8 years of the Japanese invasion. So the suffering was tremendous. And the communists, just like the Democrats today, gave a just promise of what they would make China into a new society with equity. Sounds familiar? With new democracy, where everyone will be equal And so she was attracted to the communist ideologies. So at the age of 16, through underground communists in Haywood High School, she joined the communist, and become a communist. And soon after, the communists took over China, and she became a devoted communist. She participated like land reform, and she just wanted so hard for the communism to work in China, but pretty soon she got disillusioned. And the idea and reality just don't match up. So at this process, Christianity started to come back to her. And in 1952, with the highest score in Suzhou City, she was admitted to Beijing University to study journalism. That was 1953. In 1957, Mao launched a campaign. It's called Let 100 Flower Bloom. Encourage everyone to make suggestions to the CCP to improve their work. Well, those intellectuals, they're just too gullible, yeah? So they started to raise questions, and especially the students and faculty. The questions are not easy questions. They're hard questions. They talk about one-party rule. They question about the one-party rule. They talk about party corruption. Most of all, they talk about freedom of speech. And as predicted, and as you can predict now, soon Mao turned it around and called the same campaign anti-rightist campaign. Anyone who spoke about those issues were labeled rightist. As rightist, you become the black class, and you become the enemy of the state. So Lin Zhao sided with those who spoke out. So she became a rightist. And soon she was imprisoned. During her imprisonment, she was mistreated, humiliated, and tortured. At the age of 35, she was executed. And the CCP went to her family and demanded 5 cents of bullet fee to cover the fee for that bullet that killed her. Okay, so what makes her story so unique? And I'm just going to read my notes, okay? There are about more than 1 million Chinese were labeled rightists. And they were all punished by imprisonment, exile, some execution. Lin Zhao was the only one that refused, remember, she was the only one refused to bow down to CCP and to admit any wrongdoing. Knowing what that would do to her, she refused. And not only that, she refused any thought reform. Everyone else had to go through thought reform to get the right thought, to get the wrong thought out and the right thought in. She refused to do that. She also was actively fighting back with her pain, exposing the evils of communism, and directly challenge Mao. There's also something different. She differs in crucially important way, because there are a lot of people like her who challenged Mao and who was imprisoned and executed. She was the only one who openly denounced communism from biblical viewpoint. As a Christian, her conviction came from the Bible that the rights of man came from God. And communism is evil because it acts against God. She was really the willing martyr of the truth for God. She should really be known for every Christian in the world. While she was in prison, she wrote constantly. She left us a large body of works. And most of the time, her hands were chained against the chair. And her head was covered, only allowed her to see things because she won't shut up. She would, anytime she see anyone, the jail guards, she would talk to them and denouncing communism. So she wrote to the editorial of People's Daily, knowing that won't get anywhere. But she said, grind me to powder if you wish. Every bit of my broken bone will be seen as a resistor. And she was right. 50 years after her death, her graveyard was fenced in with a lot of cameras all around because people did not forget her. People call her the martyr of human rights for China. And her graveyard was considered a threat by the communists, by the CCP. Why? Why is CCP so afraid of Lin Zhao, a frail and petite woman? She weighed 80 pounds when about the time she was executed. What they are scared was the source that gave this woman such an unwavering conviction for liberty and goodness, such courage to face overwhelming and crushing evil, to endure unimaginable suffering and eventually death. In her, as a young girl, was planted a little seed of Christianity that grew into a powerful instrument for goodness and truth. That's what CCP is afraid. And that's what the Marxists are afraid, Christianity. Because that Christianity is the foundation of this country. So if people ask, how do we fight the wokeness? How do we fight this Marxists in America? We have a powerful weapon in our hand. That is Christianity. Thank you. Thank you.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you. Lad, do we have any questions over there? I've got like 10 of them I want to ask, so you guys can get in line behind me. What can parents do? I asked you this earlier. What can parents do?
Parents can do a lot of things. One of the things is get involved to support candidates, conservative candidates to running for school board, and get conservative candidates into the Senate, into the Congress, and that's one thing. Vote on November 8th, and get people to vote with you. Vote. The other is to expose that what's going on here is communism. It's communism. Don't be shy about it. I was a little shy about it in the beginning. And my husband said, don't say communism. People think communism is like a Cold War. It's kind of in the past. But I said, no, it is communism. I'm not going to shy about it. It is communism. I say so because I experienced it. It's the same thing. Expose it and resist it. You can resist big ways and small ways. Big ways, you can go, and run for office. You can go go and talk to a group of people. Or you can just small resistance. Small resistance can be as small as silence. Because the left think silence is violence. They are afraid of silence because Mao is afraid of silence. They force people to conform, openly conform. No, if you can, the only thing you can do is silent resistance, do it. Every little bit counts. Absolutely, every little bit counts.
Are you afraid to come over here and speak
I
like this?
I have to tell you this. People say, are you afraid? Of course I was afraid. I was afraid for several things. I was afraid when I went to the school board, I was not too concerned because I think, it's a school board, it's local, right? When Fox News called, I was like, oh my God. Do I say yes? Knowing if I say yes, I'm going public. And I know what happened to a lot of conservatives in 2020. And I said, oh my God, if BMM just show up at my house, in front of my house and on my job, and mostly CCP will put me on their blacklist, and I'm sure it's there, and my family. A lot of fear. I can't say I'm not afraid. I was afraid. But I know if we don't stop this, I want everyone to know, if you don't stop this now, we will live in fear under communism every second. Because under communism, they can just say whatever and then call you a thought criminal and just drag you away and jail you, exile you, execute you. So you will be living in fear, permanent fear. So I'd rather fight now. So that's my reasoning. And I love this country. I love this country so much, and I'm fighting for selfish reason. I do not want to live under communism again. I do not. That's why I'm fighting.
How close are we?
We're hanging on the cliff. We're absolutely hanging on the cliff. The danger is here. When you see so many people, so many young people, absolutely indoctrinated, absolutely believing that they are doing something great, and also old and young. And there are a lot of older people indoctrinated as well. You feel like it's really, really hopeless. And but again, here we are. So I think it is very, very close to the cliff. But thank God, thank Donald Trump, and thankfully, he exposed everything. And we, as the frog in the boiling pot, finally feel the heat. And now we responded. You said you were not politically involved before. I was not. I was the quietest mouse because I was so afraid in China. We were taught, don't open your mouth. The bird that sticks out its head first gets shot. So just be quiet. Don't say anything. That's what I have been taught, and that's what I've been doing until now, until 2020. I know if I don't do anything, I know exactly what's going to happen. I know the consequence. So That's the hope. The hope is you and me and you and everyone who woke up finally and taken action.
What can a young person, we've got a few young people in this audience, what can a young person do at their age to help or to resist it?
I say, this young girl, I'm so glad you're here. I have to say that why we still have young conservatives. When I started to go around and being invited to different events, I was most time I was seeing older people, but I started to see some young people, and each time when I see young people, I go ask them. I said, why you were not indoctrinated? Two reasons. Guess what? Faith and a family. Faith and a family. So, yes, thank you, that young man here. That is why we still have kids who are conservative, who believe in the traditional values. So for those young people, doing the same thing. Resist the woke ideology and talk to your friend. And I know it's risky nowadays, but do as much as you can to expose the woke ideology and to explain to them and to ask them to go to church. Not a woke church, though. To come to this church.
Listen to your mama, kids, and don't give her a hard time when she's getting you up early in the morning to go to church. For somebody who may watch, and just real quick, those of you, I've seen some people videoing. We're actually recording this. We're going to put it online and share it with everybody, so you can share it. That's how you can help us. But for somebody who may come across this in the future, who might be in agreement with the things that we're trying to fight against, somebody who might be liberal or whatever you want to call them, does the regime, the communist group, care about those people? And can you tell me a little bit about how they feel about the people they're using to accomplish their tasks?
Oh, okay, the useful idiots.
The Red Guard. Do they care about the Red Guard?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
The useful idiots. People have to know. I really want to have a chance to talk to those woke liberals. I don't have any more because my friends, we're all no longer friends. I really want to find someone to talk to, but so far separated. So anyway, they need to know what happened to the Red Guards. And actually to anyone who believed in the communist crap in China. But I'm just going to talk about the Red Guards. The Red Guards were the one that did the Mao's bidding. They overthrow the establishment, the institutions, because Mao thought those, CCP, this is very interesting. The communist, the Mao's Chinese Cultural Revolution was to overthrow the CCP. Why? Because he thought he was not in control of it. He wanted to overthrow it and build back better. That's what he was doing. Okay. Exactly. And who was he using? Red Guards. Why? Because they were indoctrinated, right? They were taught that Mao is their real parents. So they did everything that Mao asked them to do. And after that, what happened to them? Mao considered them a threat in the city because they already did all this damage and violence and all that. Mao did not want them. So he sent them to the countryside. That's what happened to the Red Guards. And those woke liberals should know, after their usefulness is over, they will get the same treatment. So the Red Guards went to the countryside. Some of them never recovered. because I went to countryside in 1975. A lot of them were sent to the countryside 1968. Some of them just stayed there and missed the education, missed the opportunity to make a life for themselves. That's what happened. So there's no good end for any useful idiots. They are idiot first, and their usefulness only lasts until it's over. That's exactly what happened. Also, if this is still not very convincing to you, Mao promised the Chinese peasants that you will get free land. Follow me. They did. And they followed Mao and made him winning the war, helped him to win the war against the nationalists. And they did get the land after a bloody land reform. They did get free land. For how long? For 5 years. And then all the land was taken back by the collective farming campaign. So 5 years. Not only that, after that campaign, there was a big famine. 40 to 50 million of the peasants, those useful idiots, died of starvation. The story is just endless. And same happening in Russia. Those who believed in the communist promise, none of them ended well.
One last question. We talked earlier today about examples of communism that didn't work in America. Can you share a couple of those? Because I was actually surprised by this.
Yeah, communism is nothing new. Actually, communism was a utopia idea that attracted a lot of people even before Karl Marx. You know that, right? Communism was practiced here in America in the very beginning, in Jamestown, in Plymouth. They all failed. In Jamestown, it's called communalism. No private ownership. Everything's shared. You just everyone do. If you work hard, I don't work hard. Doesn't matter. We get the same distribution of whatever we produce. And in Jamestown, it caused the starving time. And people would go hungry, go starving, and cannibalism took place in Jamestown, Virginia. And after that, still did not stop people from trying to practice or hoping that they will make it right this time. This time it's going to work. Yeah, Shakers is one. And Brook Farm. Have you heard about Brook Farm? It was a commune in Massachusetts. It's famous because some of the participants or members are literary figures like Hawthorne. I don't remember his first name. And lasted 7 years. And you have one here in Ohio. I went to visit today. Zoar Village. It's a communist commune. None of them worked out. Because it would not work out. Because it's against human nature. I really want to suggest to Bernie Sanders, go back to Vermont. Start your own commune. Okay? I don't care what you do. Those communes did not hurt the society at large because they are a bunch of volunteers, right? They agreed to try this thing. But when the government pushes it on ourselves, on the rest of the society, that is disaster. That will be tragic. And that's what happened in China and in Russia. And the progressive want this happen here. They say this time is going to be different. This time is going to be great. Do not buy it. Every time it will fail.
Well, I just want to thank you for taking a couple of days to come and visit. This is a mom. That's who she is. She's a mom.
Thank you. Thank you.
She's a mom and a wife. So there's a lot of moms and a lot of wives in this room, and there's a lot of people who know moms and wives. I'm a dad, everybody who put this together is a dad. We're husbands, wives. Join together with
Citizens,
us.
we are citizens.
Yes, yes. Please get involved. Join with us. Join with whoever you can. If you could put it on the last slide. You can scan this if you would like to help us out. We'll be distributing this video as widely as we can. We will be trying to share this as much as we can. I don't know. I know Jack had potentially thought about doing an interview. So, hey, we're trying to share information. We're trying to improve our communities. Thank you for being here. You all know 10 people. Go and tell 10 people about this speaker this evening. As I understand it, you're almost finished with a book.
I'm writing a book. Because there's just so many parallels, and I want to tell people, and I can never do it even in a long interview. So finally, I had an interview with former House Speaker Newt Gingrich. He said, you should write a book. When you write a book, I invite you back. I said, finally, I said, okay. I almost like I have to. So it's almost there.
Forget Newt Gingrich. When you write a book, we'll have you back to the BW Strategy PAC. All right. Well, hey, thank you all for joining us. It's been a wonderful evening. I hope everybody got fed. I hope you've enjoyed your time here. We really, really appreciate you coming out, spending a Monday evening with us. There's a lot of stuff going on. Please get out and vote. Meet your future representative. Meet your future senator. Meet the best journalist in the state of Ohio. Meet one of my heroes.
I say one more thing.
Yes.
I think it is almost as important to get the school board, the right school board member in your school board, than have the president in the White House. Because I always say you can have Donald Trump back in the White House, but if we have all the school board and the induction of our kids, we're not going to win. Yeah, school board is the key. Or local, anything local. I never paid much attention. Now I understand the importance.
Okay, this concludes